Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'm about to read chapter 10. It's kind of a bigger chapter, so is 11. And this chapter really leads into a very high point in the story. And it is close to the end of where I want to read online for you. Just as a reminder, in chapter 9, he just met Randon, who is a shadow elf, and he looks scary. His people look scary. They have charcoal gray skin, they have sharp teeth, and red glowing irises. I can't remember if it's irises or basically the rings around your eyes. I had the right word in the book, I just can't remember which one they are at the moment. Anyway, I know that's horrible as someone who writes, but I have to be reminded sometimes. Anyway, he's scary though, and as you will learn soon, there's a reason why the Wood Elves are very mistrusting of Shadow Elves, and they treat Randon very poorly. But he's met Randon, and he's becoming friends with him slowly. And that's where we're at. This is chapter 10, Destiny Readings. I know that I should have done this sooner, but there will be times where I'm just adding in Nate said or Randon says at the beginning, because I realize that when you read it, it's easy to tell who's talking, but when I say it out loud and I don't say who's talking, sometimes you can't even tell that it's actually a quote and not like one of Nate's thoughts, like he's not narrating. So there are going to be times where I'm just saying Nate and I'll say the line. Anyway, Randon and I are almost to Kandari's workshop, and more people are staring at us than I am used to. At least used to since the first few weeks I was here. The way they're staring at us is different as well. When they stare at me, they act confused and skeptical. When they stare at him, it is hurtful and unwelcoming. No matter, I try to ignore them as Randon has been asking many questions. He's intent on knowing everything about my life. I think he's jealous and assumes my life on Earth was interesting. I keep trying to tell him that my life here is more exciting than the life I had back then. Nate. My body has finally gotten used to working with the Libus family over the last few weeks. Rogar realized my alien body is a bit slower to recover than he expected. So he started making me spend a few days a week helping Kandari and Suri. They work with dragon hides and scale shells. After a few sessions of doing this, I started having dreams of Drobe working with Kandari, which like always, helps with the learning curve. Most leaves are special. This is Randon. The leaves we ate back home only gave you fuzzy images, and when people talked, they often sounded distant with an echoing sound. Oftentimes, my kind preferred not to use the leaves at all. Nate. It could be the species of plant you have on your land. He turns his head away, looking ashamed. Or it could be a racial thing. Feeling uncomfortable, I try to change the subject. Well, this last place we are going to is Suri's and Kandari's workshop. At the end of each day, I've been working on a special project. They're a work in progress. As we close in on the Libus' workshop, I wave to Suri, who's displaying some rugs. She spots me, stands up, and yells something inside the workshop. When little Abby runs out to see me, she trips and falls over her feet, and then bounces right back up to resume running to me with a laugh. I pull my arms out to catch her, as I know she's going to jump on me whether I'm ready for it or not. She's almost ready to jump when she looks behind me and shrieks in fear. She tries to stop, but ends up sliding and landing on her butt. I turn my head and realize that Randon scared her. It's alright, Abby. She won't hurt you, I tell her. She ignores me, screams again, and runs back into the workshop tree. I should have warned her, Suri says as she walks up to us. Hi, Suri. This is Randon. I want to show him what I've been working on. What are you talking about? The things you saw me working on the other day. She gives me an awkward expression. Oh, those. Kendari saw them and thought they were a mess up. She threw them out. Oh. The seams were done quite poorly, Nathan. They were falling apart. I understand. Gotta get this done before it gets dark. I'll go get Kendari. She must be calming down Abby, she says. No, it's fine. We can go so Abby won't be scared, Randon tells her. We say our goodbyes and leave to find my sisters. I don't know the entire city yet, so we've taken a scenic route. It amazes me how hard the people are working to get the ceremony ready. I take a scenic route. It amazes me how hard the people are working to get the ceremony ready. I watch elves use magic to float gold streamers up into the air and hang them on the trees. Carved decorations of the crest I saw on the knightly woman the night before are on dining tables, and golden tinsel dresses many of the smaller trees. More than ever, this place feels like a magical kingdom hidden from the kind of world I once knew. Sorry for what happened back there, Brandon says. Or no, Nate says. I actually was filling that in, trying to tell you, but that was actually Nate, or Brandon. Sorry, Nate. Nate says, I'm sorry for what happened back there. Brandon, I'm used to it. I've lived in the Vane territories for over a year now, and none of the villages or cities have ever been very welcoming. Not a single person has ever said sorry for it, though. When I first came here, everyone stared at me. This is Nate Bowie. Some still do, except it's more of a curiosity thing. None have ever treated me the way they treat you. Brandon, that's because they don't know your people. They know mine. They know that 100 years ago, the Vale hunted the Shadow Elves, thinking they were demons. We welcomed the hunt as sport, but the Vane saw those stocky beasts hunting a race of elves and intervened. When my people didn't show gratitude for their actions, well, it was not the best first impression. But that was 100 years ago, I say. During the last war between them, the Vale was winning, and the Vane asked my people for help. We turned our backs and ordered them to leave our land. Now they see us as cowards who hide in the dark. What's worse is that some people believe we persist to hunt the Vane and the Vale for sport. Neat. The Shadows don't, right? Brandon, he turns away. It doesn't matter. I'm not one of them anymore. When dinner time comes around, Wyston didn't feel like eating fish twice in a row. Instead, we stood in line for an hour to have a place at the dining tables. Both Wyston and Jaimin grunted as they waited. It reminds me of all the long lines I had to wait through while living on Earth. Whereas living here in Andaria, I've never had more than a 3-person wait for anything. As we sit down to eat, everyone is smiling. That is, except for Jaimin and Randon. They appear to be gritting their teeth, as if they're threatening beasts. Albeit, I know they're attempting to smile, and that's what counts. The hard-working waiters bring us a large steaming pot and several clay bowls. Inside it, there's a juicy roast bathed in a vegetable soup. This looks a lot more appetizing than what I usually have to eat. After pouring some soup into my bowl, I swing my eyes over to Jun, who's a few tables down. He's creating a scene of disapproval toward a waitress, or as they call them, food handlers. I watch him throw his bowl down on the floor, breaking it into pieces. He snickers as the woman goes to pick up the broken clay dish. How could he be like this? The food was especially prepared for the occasion, and it looks and smells amazing. Can it be that bad? I take my first sip of the broth, and it's the best tasting broth I have ever eaten on this planet. His taste buds might be accustomed to a different kind of flavor than mine. Even so, I prefer to believe that he just wants to belittle the woman. He's flicking some broth at her, and she's taking it humbly. I examine the adults next to him, and they're laughing at her expense. This must be where he gets his personality. Some people get an ounce of wealth among us and think they can act like the lesser roles of the community, Royston mutters. Nate. Not all wealthy families are like that. Royston. The Libus family is a rare breed, Nate. We're almost finished with our meal when Royston and Akram jerk their heads up in surprise. They are looking behind me, so I turn around and spot the Libus family as they walk up to our table. Abby is either asleep or hiding her face over Rogar's shoulder. Kandari has a large green sack in her hands. Good evening, Royston. Glad to know you are well, Rogar says. Good evening, Mr. Libus. It has been a while. We miss you, kid. You don't have to be a stranger, Kandari tells him. I have been meaning to stop by. That's not why we're here now, is it? Rogar asks. No, it isn't. I'd simply like to remind him that he remains our honorary son. My shift between Mrs. Libus and Royston. In her twinkling eyes, I find a bond there that I hadn't realized. We were hoping to give Nate a present before the big day tomorrow, Suri announces. The Libus family turns to me with smiles across their faces. That includes Abby, who turns halfway around to smile before turning her head back to hide it from our company. A present? You can think of it as a thank you for all the help you have been giving us, Kandari says, and lays the large bag on my lap. You've already given me so much. Oh, shush. You're paying us back for that, remember? Now open it, will you? I open the sack and see the boots I was working on. The last time I saw them, they were falling apart because I couldn't sew the seams strong enough, and yet now they are finished. You needed a little more skill if you're planning on wearing those things, says Kandari. Suri says, when you came by earlier, she was inside fixing them. They're ugly, if you ask me, Rogar grumbles. Kandari shouts, Rogar! I've never seen boots like those before, Akram admits. Rogar. See, maybe as he learns to stitch, he'll learn some style, too. Randon. These are meant to be this way. They look like the boots my people's army wore, except they were black ones and these are brown. Suri is saddened. We could make new ones when you grow out of these and make them black if you want. Black dragon skin is rare these days, Rogar reminds her. They will use another kind of hide, Kandari says while gritting her teeth and elbowing Rogar in his side. Well, put them on. We must make sure they fit, Suri tells me. I take my sandals off and dangle them in front of me before tossing them aside. I slip the boots on, lace them up, and look around and see kids staring at me from other tables. I don't care if they are staring. I'm proud to parade these around the woods. Thank you, I say. Randon watches me with confusion. He must wonder why a boy who describes his race so negatively would now be happy to wear clothes of his people's warriors. He must not understand what I consider to be badass, and those sandals I wore are definitely not badass. We get up and surrender our place at the table for the next family. I hug Suri and Kendari. I rub Abby on the head and shake Rogar's hand as we say goodbye. While walking back to our tree, I feel a difference walking in these boots. I made the soles out of a section of jagged leather found underneath a dragon's jaw. The outer layer has tiny dragon scales that resemble glass shards. The inner layer, on the other hand, is soft and flexible enough to walk in. When we get outside our home, Jamin places a hand on Rogar's chest to stop him from proceeding inside. My apologies. My apologies. I'd like to talk alone with my son. We'll be inside in a moment. Wyston and Akram nod, and we leave them to enter the den. The girls turn to run up to their rooms, excited for tomorrow, but Wyston yells for them to stop. The girls turn around, look at each other, and then back at Wyston. Tomorrow is a big day, and your mother and I want you to know that no matter what the priestess says about you, we're proud to have you as our children. Wyston's eyes shift toward me, and he smiles. His eyes peer deep into mine, as if he's searching for my approval. I look at him and wonder if he feels that way. Why would he pawn me off as he did this morning? Sorry, I just read that really bad, but I think you got it. Casta giggles. Yeah, Sierra, we'll still love you even when she declares you a dung cleaner. That isn't funny, Castanea, Akron protests. Not even a little funny, Casta asks, with big eyes, playing the adorable card. Mom tries to fight back a smile and fails. Get to bed, children. I smile as I wake up in my bed the next morning. There we go. I'm really kind of failing in some parts of this, I'm sorry. Every family with children, 7 to 10 years old, has today off. They wake this morning with plans to have a full day of festivities and traditions to attend. I don't know how to feel about this ceremony. It's strange, but everyone's attitude on the subject makes me feel like I'm waking up on Christmas morning. This feeling becomes all the more real when Castanea and Sarah jump onto my sack of pelts, dressed in matching sunflower yellow dresses. Brother, wake up, wake up! Good morning, Sierra says. Get dressed. You need to look outside, shouts Castanea. Ho, 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 I whisper. What? Both girls ask. Nothing. Forget about it, I retort. I put on the matching moss green pants and shirt that the girls have picked out for me and lace up my new boots. We make our way downstairs and Castanea rushes past our two guests, the door, and rushes past our two guests, who are tucked in their grass, wow, I am really bad today. We make our way downstairs, and Castanea rushes past our two guests, who are tucking in their grass green dress shirts into their bamboo green slacks. Casta gets to the door and tugs on the rope, but cannot open the thick door by herself. Sierra and I can't help but enjoy the view as she tries. Jamin and Randon both laugh too. However, their attempts sound more threatening than joyful. Are you going to help or what? Castanea grumbles. Sierra and I glance at each other and laugh. Then Sierra gives in and rushes to her side with an innocent waddle in her butt. Step away from the door, Mom says from behind me. turn around, and there she is at the bottom of the hall, grinning from cheek to cheek. Before you go outside, it's a mother's right to watch you write down your dream forges. I just want a peek, please, Castanea begs. Nope, I'll get the parchment, Mom says, with a glint in her eyes. We won't need any, Jamin states. I had my son write his down last night. Mom nods. The girls lay down on the floor with a single quill and 2 papers. I have a sheet of paper too, but I scan through the memories of my dreams and realize I'm in trouble. What's wrong? Are you having second thoughts about the warrior class, Akram asks. I don't know how to write in your language. She tilts her head. With all those dreams, you never tried triggering one about writing? Is that how you are usually taught to write? I ask. It definitely helps, she states. I look back, ashamed of myself. Hey, it's fine. You want to be a warrior, right? Mom asks, and I nod. She helps me write down the word warrior onto my paper and smiles. Wyston walks down the hall, stretching a dressy, pale yellow shirt to fit over a green pair of slacks. I've never seen him dressed so formally before. Are you kids ready? He asks. Yes. Can we go? Castanea asks. Yes, we can go, he answers, as he throws on a cream-colored leather vest and walks past me. He grabs the thick rope of the door and pulls it open to reveal a set of packages at our doorstep. Wyston picks up the 5 wrapped packages, and it's obvious who they're from. Akram turns to me with enthusiasm. Micolette must be excited to see you today. I don't want to sound rude, but I'm not ready to eat fish again just yet, Sierra says. Yeah, I want to go to the festival, Castanea adds. Oh, children, if you don't want to eat fish today, you don't have to. This is your special day, Akram tells us. Come on, kids. Take a look, Wyston says, presenting the open door. We walk outside and observe Andaria in a way I've never seen. The people are dressed in formal attire. Most are in gaudy robes with green and yellow themes of this occasion. When I examine Wyston, I am proud that he is not dressed in those robes. I am glad that he kept his manhood in check. Several small wooden statues of men and women holding weapons are standing throughout the city. I figure each one suggests a different job class. I raise my head and notice the streamers and many lamps hanging in rows above us. The lamps remind me of what I saw in the Japanese culture. It appears the city had worked through the night to decorate our city. Isn't Andaria at risk of being located? I ask. We have many watchers far outside the city who are creating a perimeter to keep us safe, Akram answers. Come on, let's go to the activities, Castanea says, and pulls my arm to follow her. Soon we're standing at one of the many new event huts that make me feel as though I'm at a fairground. The man at this hut pulls down a few of his many jugs and pours us kids some drinks. Sierra and Caston breathe in the aroma and smile. I look into my cup of what both looks and smells like grape juice. The girls swirl the drinks in their hands, and Randon mimics them. Now, Nathan, what you are supposed to do is sip the drink and describe what you think it tastes like, Akram explains. Wine tasting? I ask as with a raised eyebrow. Huh? Everyone asks me in unison. I got it, I say while fighting back a laugh. I'll go first, Castanea says, and tips the cup back in both hands. takes a small sip, and then looks at us. It has a very oaky, very nutty flavor with fruity overtones, Castanea says, trying to sound all proper and grown up. Mine has a dry, light floral bouquet taste, Sierra describes. I looked back into my cup, rather happy that they acted just like human wine tasters. Don't one strange, huh? Okay, I'm confused here. I don't know if it's a mistake. Don't get me wrong. Okay, don't get me wrong. The code of conduct always annoyed me on Earth, but these kids have shown me one strange way they act human. With a smile, I take a sip and swish it in my mouth. Go on, just describe what you taste, Wyson says. It tastes like crushed grapes and Red Bull, I tell them, and the group is silent. Then the kids sample their drinks. Then they slowly start to laugh, curious as to what I said. I smile again. I may have enjoyed the way the kids sampled their drinks, but I'm not about to join in on the act. Over the next several hours, we walk around and play games and watch dance performances. We sample more appetizers at lunch, and then I watch the crowd begin to thin out. Many families are walking in the same direction toward the stage that I saw the other day. It must be time, Sierra states. Not for us, says Wyson. What? Castanea asks with wide eyes. Calm down. We have Nathan and Randon with us, Akram clarifies. The children who aren't of the vain races go last, Wyston explains. Castanea pounces. That's not fair. Wyston glares at her. Stop being selfish, Casta. Not for me. It isn't fair for Nate. And Randon, Castanea says, and her words crack as she looks at Randon. Akram puts an arm around her. That's the way things are, Casta. We're happy that you care about our treatment, young one, but Randon and I will happily wait our turn to come face to face with the priestess, Jamin says. Then I hear Nicholas chuckle from 20 feet away. He's cheerful when he sees us in the crowd. The man is dressed in forest green robes with lemon yellow lining and moss green leaves designed into the cuffs and around the bottom drapery. Wyston waves to him from across the way. Thank you for the fish this morning. If you like the fish, I'll bring some more by when you are done with it. You gave me a reason to wear this again. I didn't think it would still fit, but it did. Michelet shows off the robe as he closes in on us. It makes him smell musty, like the clothes had been inside a drawer for several years. You don't owe us any more of your stock, Mr. Winters. He puts his hand on my shoulders. Ah, but I do. This boy gave me my son back, in his own way. He gave me my happiness back the day I saw him, and today he's letting me redo an experience I regretted in the past. I look up at him, and then glance at Wyston. He gives me his usual ornery grin. It's so hard to tell what he wants me to think with the way he has been acting lately. If you don't mind, I want to spend a little time with him before the ceremony, Michelet states in a joyous tone. Sure. We have about an hour before our place in line will be available. We'll see you then, Akram tells him. I too would like some time alone with my son. We'll meet you in line, Jamin adds, in his usual rough voice. And in no time, we're all splitting ways. I watch Randon walk away with his father, and he looks back at me. Next, I look at my family, who's already turned away from me. This is it. Are you excited? Nicolette asks. I'm curious to talk with the priestess. Generally, you don't talk to the priestess. She talks to you. I don't get to talk to her? I ask with frustration. But she will tell you why you're here. She will? Well, yeah. She'll tell you what profession you'll have. That isn't the same thing, I retort. Your choices may often be decided depending on the job you're doing here. He pauses. What's bothering you, boy? I've been waiting so long to know why I was brought here. Don't you feel like you belong? Sometimes. Sometimes? Don't take this wrong, sir. I do like you a lot, but Weiston is my dad. At least, I want him to be. But sometimes I don't think he wants me. I think maybe he's ashamed to stand behind me. No, my boy. He's proud of you. I can see it. Any man would be proud to be your father. I know I would be. I give him a pathetic smile. You're a good friend, Mr. Winters. We keep talking for a short while, and when the sky grows dark, we decide to walk toward the event. It's cloudy, and it looks like it could rain. However, the moon is beaming bright toward the event. However, the moon is beaming bright onto the massive trees. People are lighting the lamps when I see my family in view. Have you seen Jamin and his son? Weiston asks. We haven't, Nicolette answers. The last of the children are already in line, Akram states. I'm sure they'll arrive soon. We can get in line. Can we get in line? Castaneda asks. Sierra says, maybe they're already in line. We'll see. Come on, children. Let's go get your futures read, Akram responds. We make our way to the clearing, and I'm astonished at the size of the crowd watching the event. This audience is bigger than the one in front of the waterfall the other night. The priestess and her white knight companion are already on stage, telling children their future careers in a loud tone so that everyone can hear. As far back as we are, we can barely hear her. We already missed the opening speech, Akram says. Thank Lina, Nicolette whispers to Weiston, and they both share a grin. Akram blushes. Shame on you two. Sorry, I have to keep track of time. I still have to do a patrol this hour, so... Anyway. The line of children and their parents stretch far beyond the stage and wrap around all the way... I'm reading this bad. The line of children and their parents stretch out far beyond the stage and wraps all the way around the large crowd. Mom appears stressed as she learns that Randon and his father aren't in line yet. They'll be here soon, Mom, I tell her. She has a mild expression of worry in her eyes and shifts them to Weiston and Nicolette. We take our place in line. The girls are right before me, and we begin to watch the ceremony. The priestess is wearing a jade silk dress and has decorated her beautiful red hair in matching green ribbons. Her companion with the burned face is dressed the same as the other knight in her white dragon scale armor. The priestess stands at the center of the stage. Her companion is to her right. They have their backs to the audience as each kid and their parents walk up to them. After a bow from all members involved, the priestess holds out her hand for the child to take. After a quick second, the priestess turns to the crowd, smiles, and announces the child's profession to the city. One by one, the children line up in front of her, receive their careers, and no matter how sad or belittling the job might be, they thank her and bow again. Some children get to lift up their paper, dream forges, and some don't. I hear profession after profession announced for 2 hours. She announces new weavers, mystics, hunters, woodcarvers, painters, cooks, and the list goes on and on. Sorry. I'm almost on stage when Paolo is about to have his first reading, is about to have his reading in front of the priestess. John is the next kid behind him in line. Paolo's father stands behind him and presents him to the red-headed girl in green. They all bow, and she extends her hand for him to take. She closes her eyes, and before they reopen, she smiles. At this time, the first raindrop falls onto the stage. "Warrior," she proclaims loudly after turning to the crowd. Paolo smiles and lifts his paper above his head. They bow once more, and Paolo walks off stage. Next is John's turn. He bows and takes her hand, but this time she doesn't smile, and when she opens her eyes, instead she looks over at me. She fights a grin before returning to a serious face and addresses the crowd. "Food handler." John's jaw drops. A whispering giggle carries throughout the crowd, and I laugh quietly alongside my sisters, and John bows. He stares straight at me and then turns to walk off stage. After I regain my composure, I walk around and see that there is still no sign of Brandon or his father. My mother seems the most bothered by this, but that's not to say that Sierra and Casta haven't given me a look of concern at one point or another. I turn to Mom. "What happens if they're not here after I go in front of the priestess?" "Brandon won't receive a reading," Mom answers. I examine the short line of 15 kids in front of me and then realize that the priestess is looking straight at me with a worried expression. Why would she be staring at me like that? I look into the darkness and picture Brandon out there, lost, searching for us. From out of nowhere, rain starts to pour down on us. "I'll be right back," I whisper to Mom as I turn and run off the stage. I hear the crowd gasp for breath as I do this. The others on stage are all stare with wide eyes, and I glance back one last time. I catch a glimpse of the priestess repainting a soft smile. She appears both happy and sad at the same time. I run back to the area where I last saw him. The lamps are providing a dim path for me to follow. I can hear my sisters behind me, calling for me to wait for them. After turning to wave them down, I hear a loud, dry scream coming from my left. I don't wait for my sisters to catch up to me when I bolt in the direction of my friend's voice. I no longer have light to guide me through the trees and thick bushes. But that doesn't stop me from sprinting at full speed down the dark path. I can hear Randon crying as I close in on him. The next thing I know, he's right in front of me, and I almost run over him. The pale moonlight blankets him through the spread of the trees. Drenched, he's pressing his knees into the mud and holding his father in his arms. Randon turns his head to me, and his whole body is shaking. At first he growls, with tears in his eyes. When he realizes that it's me, he turns his head back to his father. I'm standing over his shoulder, and I walk around to the front. I set my eyes on his father's lifeless body. He's bleeding from his chest and mouth. I kneel before them, and seconds later, my sisters run into the area. They put their hands over their mouths in shock, and tears begin to flow from their eyes. That's the end of chapter 11, or chapter 10. I was just looking at chapter 11 because it's the next page. So yeah, Jamie was just murdered. told you that was a longer one. We're at 40 minutes. Despite my kind of poor reading today, I hope you enjoyed that one. And I will talk to you soon. Stay motivated, guys.